G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad Fantasy Cricket Show. I'm Haz, that's Dill, and that's Stu, and we are the FantasyBros. Hope everyone's had a great start to the new year and is ready for another big week of BBL action. Thanks as always for tuning in, whether you're watching us live or catching us on the replay on Apple Music or Spotify. It's been a great day of Ashes cricket so far, but our attention now turns to round 10 of the Big Bash, where today we'll preview those matchups. So if anyone is joining us live and has any start-sit questions, please let us know in the comment section and we'll see what we can do to help you out. Before we start to preview round 10, boys, how did we go in round 8 and 9? Dill, we'll start off with you.
Yeah, g'day, Haz, Stu, everyone tuning in. Before I jump into my results, massive shout out to Cal for coming along to the cricket the other night. The Brisbane Heat obviously had a massive game up against the Stars. We had a bit of a FantasyBros and GameDay squad outing, and it was a whole lot of fun. So thanks, Cal, for joining us there. Hopefully the Heat can get it done tonight. Yeah, boys, look, I'm pretty happy that I had that champion win earlier in the season, because since then everything's been going downhill for me, unfortunately. So I think I might just hang my hat on that and just sit back and let you boys share in all the glory, because you guys are doing pretty well at the moment. My classic team in round 8 and 9 were pretty horrible. I couldn't even get past about 90th spot. I had 96th and then 130th, which is just ridiculous. Challenger starting to get a little bit better. Challenger 34th in round 8 and then 15th in round 9. Had a couple of pods in there. And then my champion team outside the 20 in both of those. So it's a bit surprising. My pod team and Challengers actually has me sitting 15th for the season. So it's actually got me closer to that prize card now. I'm actually only one big pod away from 5th spot in Challenger. It's that close between the top 5 and then everyone in that top 20. So I'm pretty keen to have a big one now in Challenger. I've just got to still keep that mindset of it's my pod team, play my pods and hope for the best. But Stu, how did you go, mate? Round 8 and 9 for you.
Yeah, g'day, Dill. G'day, Haz, and thanks for tuning in, everyone, as always. We're talking about football results, right? Because I've had some pretty good back-to-back weeks in Champion and Challenger there. Not so much in cricket, unfortunately. Classic 34th and 74th. Challenger 53rd, 45th. A little bit better in Champion 7th and an 18th, where I'm currently sitting in 6th overall, and I've sort of dropped just outside the top 10 overall there in Challenger. But full steam ahead. Haz, you've probably got a bit more success to report on. I think you were the only one out of us that played a Davey Warner in this previous round. How did you go?
Yeah, it's been a couple pretty good weeks for me. Round 8, I came 21st in Contender, thanks to that pretty handy Mitch Marsh pod that I called out. I got 55th in Classic and 31st in Challenger. And then last round, 68th in Contender. And thanks to that Davey Warner All-Star, who was a late replacement for Finn Allen, I came 3rd in Classic, which was a bit of a surprise because I had quite a few different pods in there. So definitely take that as the best finish so far for the season for me. And I got 33rd in Challenger, which leaves me hanging around just outside the 25th for the season. So going along nicely. It's good to have some success finally and be in that top 3. But Dill, what can our viewers and listeners expect from us today on our round 10 show?
Yeah, mate, talking about our viewers, let's welcome a few in, such as Fife was the first one in here. Good evening, team. G'day, mate. How are you? Mel's Misfits, as always, as well, giving a bit of a shout out. We've got Maxi and Izzy. Callum Stone, the man himself, is thereabouts, as is Coach Stephen. We haven't seen Duffman, though, which is interesting. I thought he might be on the show joining us today. We might have to see how they go. Heading down a little bit, and Cal just said Glenn Maxwell needs to be removed from this front screen. It's triggering him. Yeah, that's fair enough. We might have to remove Glenn Maxwell. Mel's put up that we're representing all the players not playing. I think we've got Smith, we've got the right Tommy Rogers. So we might have to look at changing that up a bit, Stu, in the next few rounds. Yeah, look, as always, we are going to preview the upcoming matches for Big Bash. We'll run through all of the matchups for round 10. We'll discuss our favourite picks in the keeper, batsman, all-rounder and bowler positions. We'll share our consensus team for the round, so you know exactly who we're looking at rolling out. It's not our exact teams, but it's some of our favourite players across the competition. Obviously, when we talk about our players, we talk about diversifying across the 3 competitions that we can play or that we're eligible for. We also have our Bro Down Showdown, as always, where the viewers listeners can win some pretty handy cards to continue rolling out your Oz cricket teams simply by tuning in and letting us know who you think is going to win each and every week. And I think the competition is spotting up there. Don't forget as well, if you are a new user, you're joining us for the first time because you've stumbled across this page, welcome. Make sure you subscribe, but then head across to GameDay Squad, whether that's downloading the app or over on the website. Sign up using the promo code SUMMER, SUMMER, all in caps, and that'll start you off on your GameDay Squad Dynasty with 3x3 player common packs. You'll also get a heap of bronze players as well. So at least you can build your starter and your contender or classic side. As soon as you do that, you're going to start winning cards automatically. Start building your squads over the next season. Maybe the following season, you might be super competitive. You might be in the money, similar to what Haz has done, where he's built his card squad over a certain amount of time, and now he's reaping those rewards. Talking about reaping rewards, Haz, you want to get into the GDS Cup before we get through the round, mate? There's some big matchup in the GDS Cup this round.
Yeah, we've got our GDS Cup Grand Final, which sees the Clive Rose 11 versus Duffman in the big showdown. Duffman, I think, is the one that beat you. So I think you'll probably be cheering him on in the final. Does he go all the way?
I don't know. We've done a little bit with Mighty Hoss or those people that know I'm on Discord, Mighty Hoss or Game Day Society as well. We've done a little bit with them, and I kind of want to see a friend of the show get up and maybe get a little bit of revenge on Duffman for knocking me out. I did try to see if we could get Clive Rose 11 on the show, but unfortunately he just has to be listening because he's got some family over. So no doubt they're sitting around the TV screen watching us along as well.
Geez, I certainly hope he's got his team set before that family gathering for the Cup final, that's for sure. All right, let's get right into it for round 10. As you can see on screen, we have the 3 games to play in round 10. The first one being the Sixers versus the Heat tonight. And as always, when teams come out, we will let you know as soon as we find out the teams, the 11s, and the orders. And we'll have a quick discussion around those players. But before we do that, we'll start to break down each game. So some key stats for each game of the round. So the Sixers versus the Heat is going to be played at Coffs Harbour, which we haven't seen a game at Coffs since January 2024. So, however, since 2019, the average total in the first innings is 169, while the second innings is only 144 runs. We've seen a higher score of 203 scored by the Sixers a few years ago, indicating that it can be a very good batsman wicket. We do expect it to be clear skies. I think there was rain reported earlier this morning, but it looks to have cleared up, so it shouldn't affect the toss or the start time for the game whatsoever. Moving into, some averages for Coffs Harbour. The batsmen average about 33 points per game. Wicket keepers are at 38, all-rounders 43. So it does show that it can favour those batsmen a little bit, and certainly the all-rounders. So you might want to target some of those players for your squads this round. Game 2 is the Strikers versus the Thunder tomorrow night at 6:15 Australian Eastern Standard Times. And once again, we are expecting clear skies. It's actually meant to be a scorcher. It's still meant to be in the low 30s by the time of first ball. So it's going to be pretty warm over in Adelaide tomorrow night. But some key venue stats. So all player average sits at 32, which is actually the second lowest in the comp so far this season. First innings batting average for all teams is 12.4, which is extremely low. Interesting though, chasing batting average is at 36.8. So there's a big difference there between first and second innings batting averages. While last season, the Strikers allowed an average of 40.5 GDS points to the Thunder players, while the Thunder limited the Strikers to 39.5. So there's not much difference there, only 1 point difference between the Strikers and the Thunder players. And then finally, Game 3 is the Scorchers versus the Renegades on Wednesday night at Optus Stadium. Once again, it's going to be played at 6:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time, and we are expecting clear skies. Some stats for that game. All-player average is 34.8, which is on the lower side for the venues. First innings batting average is 21.7, while the chasing batting average sits at 17.8. Scorchers allowed an average of 38 to Renegades players last season, while the Renegades limited the Scorchers to 35. So as always, there is quite a lot of information to digest there, but based on that information, is there a particular game that you're looking to target this round, Stu?
Well, maybe not so much target, but a really interesting stat there comes from Adelaide, that Tuesday night fixture, and spoke about the points scored in the first innings, particularly from the batsman, and then compared that to the second innings batsman, and it's quite massive, isn't it? We've seen in the two matches so far that the team that bats first isn't really getting going, and the team that's chasing has been chasing that target down nice and easily without losing too many wickets. So, yeah, first innings batting average of 12.4 versus the chasing batting average of 36.8 is pretty crazy there. So it could be a really, really important bat flip there. Dill, I'll throw this question to you. Is it going to be as simple for coaches just to be flexible, maybe with their third batting slot, and keep their eyes on this bat flip? And if the strikers bowl first, put Lynn in that spot. If the Thunder bowl first, change that to Davey Warner for the chase, since we're seeing all the points scored by the chasing team.
Yeah, it's probably not as simple as that. But I think the simple part of that is that we do need to be flexible. And I guess you're a perfect product of that, where Finn Allen's ruled out mid-round and you've got to make that pivot to another player. I think what you should do going into a game or even into a round is have your pivots ready to go if something does happen. Obviously, we don't have every team listed yet, and we're going to talk about a player a little bit later on that hasn't been named in the squad yet because the squad hasn't been released, but we're assuming he's there. But if he's not, we've got to have that pivot and we've got to be flexible in that. So my advice is to, take a second, have a think about the averages and what that means in terms of the bat flip, but always have that second, third player in the back of your mind so you're not scrambling last minute. There's nothing worse than scrambling last minute and putting in a player that you didn't mean to and you accidentally get a donut for whatever reason. So it's about having those options ready to go just in case something does happen and we're not quite prepared for it. But in saying that, I think, you're right. Something as simple as who wins the bat flip is going to determine whether you play Lynn or Warner, because we do like both of them. Obviously, I like Warner a little bit less because I hate chasing last round's points. But it is going to come down to the toss. But talking about bat wicket keepers, let's get into the preview. Haz, do you want to kick us off with one of our bat wicket keeper options this round?
All right, boys, let's get into our bat wicketkeeper position for round 10, which of course begins tonight in Coffs Harbour with the Heat taking on the Sixers. If you missed last round, we will now be previewing the top 5 averaging players in each position for the round on the screen instead of showing our top picks for the round. We will continue to each choose one player from each position to discuss whether they are on screen or not. So on screen at the top 5 averaging players available for selection this round, you can see we've got Cooper Connolly, who is averaging an amazing 76 points. Matt Renshaw, 61 average. Josh Philippe, who's probably the standout wicketkeeper choice this round, averaging 54. Dave Warner, after one massive score, all of a sudden is now in the top 5 averages for the round at 45. And then Joshy Brown, who has had a couple good games in a row, to average 45 as well. So, boys, who are we looking to target and why? Dill, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Just quickly before I do, Ganners has asked a question here about Will Sutherland and some information about batting first versus second. I'm going to come back to that when we look at the all-rounders. And so, Ganners, just remind me about that if we don't touch on it, because I don't have a lot in terms of the differences, but I can give you some stats that might help you a little bit. So, just keep that in mind, Ganners. We'll come back to you, mate. Look, my batsman this week, I'm going to roll with the Heat player, and I'm going to roll with Renshaw again, because he has been rolling along quite nicely to start the season. Ren is currently averaging 40 runs with the bat, which is obviously bolstered by that 102 he had at the Gabba against the Scorchers at the start of the season. But I think he's been pretty consistent. He's had 4 of 6 scores above 30, gaining that all-important 30-run bonus, which, we love to see. That's sort of our benchmark, I guess, for batsmen. If we can get to that 30 runs, we're pretty happy. And then anything on top of that, we're just laughing. Look, but on top of that, he has been entrusted with the ball on more than one occasion, particularly last game against the Stars. He actually had 2 overs. He took a wicket, but really probably should have had a second. I think Wildermuth dropped pretty much a sitter. And I think when we were at the game, we talked again about the potential for some negative points if players drop catches, because we've seen some absolute sitters in the last couple of games that have probably changed matches potentially with the drop catches. So I think having those negatives there might consider or have coaches consider maybe looking elsewhere sometimes as well. But anyway, as a result, we have seen some decent runs scored. We've also seen some decent points put on the board from the bowling aspect for Renners. Look, he's only one of two batsmen that have a positive bowling point average. Obviously, we know Cooper Connolly as a batsman, even though he's really an all-rounder, he's bowling quite nicely as well. Renners is the only other batsman to have a positive bowling average. McSweeney's had a bowl, but he's actually got a negative in that column at the moment. So no other batsman is doing that, which means there's a bit of ceiling there for us. We know that maybe Renners won't produce with the bat as much as we like, then he's potentially got that option with the ball. But the key for me is at the venue tonight, obviously Coffs Harbour, International Sports Stadium. We haven't seen a game there since all the way back in 2019, in 2022 or 2023, I believe. Last season, the game against the Heat and the Sixers was rained out. We didn't get a ball bowled. But since then, we've had since 2019, we've had 4 matches there. And we've seen plenty of success from the spinners. In particular, we've seen blokes like Stephen O'Keefe, Kuhneman, Todd Murphy, Ash Nagar. These blokes have taken 10 wickets between them in a combined 23 overs at the venue. So there's obviously quite a bit in it for spinners, but there's also been quite a bit in it for batsmen as well in the past. We've obviously seen Steve Smith score his first ever Big Bash ton there, finishing on 101 a couple of seasons ago. The Sixers have been pretty good at shutting down batsmen as well this season. However, their most vulnerable position that they've allowed points in has been that number 3 spot where Renners has been coming out, and we expect him to come out at that number 3 spot again. It's the same spot where Cooper Connolly scored 88 points to start the season in game 1. Look, I'm not saying Renners is as good as Cooper Connolly in terms of that batsman that offers opportunity with the ball, but it's certainly, when we're looking at it, we see that Renners loves to compete in everything, and no doubt he'll want to get that little bit of a buffer on Harper, who seems to be going back and forward for that golden cap with the most runs. So hopefully Renners can get the job done tonight for the Heat and earn back that golden cap.
Yeah, I love that shout. Matt Renshaw looked so good at the game live last week against the Stars, and I know he only got the 40-odd, but it honestly looked like he could have quite easily gone on if he just didn't chip that one to point. And just in the field as well, he was fielding in front of us pretty much the whole game, and he just seemed up and about. He seemed like he was loving cricket. He seemed like he was really enjoying having a bowl as well. The crowd was enticing him to have another go. He's like, well, I'll try. So it seems like he's definitely overtaken McSweeney as that part-time off spinner that they're going to turn to, which obviously is great for our fantasy scoring. So I think we should be targeting him as probably the second best batsman behind Cooper Connolly, because he has that upside there as well, that safe floor if his batting was to potentially not come off. But once again, he looks like he's in such good form, and he's right up there with the run scorers at the moment. Like you said, trying to chase down Sammy Harper for that golden cap. So hopefully Renners can keep that form up. And I think with the inclusion of Nathan McSweeney back in the side, I think those two work extremely well together to steady that middle order if those 2 early wickets fall for the Brisbane Heat. So love that shout. Good to see you back, Stu. It is your turn for your must-target batsman for this week.
Yeah, apologies, boys and viewers. No idea what happened. Computer just decided to turn off. Maybe it's way too hot in this room. I'm sweating, so the computer must be as well. No charging or internet concern. So there you go. Alrighty, batsman. Now, fortunately, this doesn't look like I'm chasing points. Last week's points, like we hate doing, because Chris Lynch scored just the one run in Perth last night. So I'm happy to give him a start in at least one of my teams this round, given he reminded us just how damaging he can be back at home at the Adelaide Oval. He scored that blistering 79 not out off 41 balls, which included 6 fours and 6 sixes. He looked like the Lynn of old. He was smoking the Heat bowlers to all around the park. But yeah, look, there's going to be some massive risk if you do decide to play Chrissy Lynn, given his scores so far this season read 5, 4, 22, that massive 79 not out, and last night's 1. So it might be a tough watch, I think, until maybe he reaches double figures. So can peek around behind the couch or something and then get comfortable once he reaches 10. Hopefully that's the case, because once he does, he'll probably go on and score something nice and decent. His record at the Adelaide Oval is pretty impressive. And obviously, he showed us that the last match there at the Adelaide Oval. He's played there twice this season. But the big difference is when the strikers batted first versus batted second. We spoke before about just how different those stats were for all teams batting first and second. And Lynn's first attempt there, the strikers batted first. He scored 4. The strikers chased when he scored his 79 not out. So I think that presents as a really big key for this fixture. And I'll certainly be keeping an eye on that bat flip and maybe only running him out in maybe my weakest squad, the classic squad, if the strikers do bat first, and just hope he can go on a tear. And saying that, batsmen, not all batsmen are going to fail in the first innings. Matty Short still scored a 50 in that match that Lynn scored 4. But I think I'd just be a little bit more confident in him during that second innings. His record at the Adelaide Oval is pretty good. 23 BBL innings, an average of 33, a strike rate of 150. He's gone past 50 on 5 occasions, which is awesome, but he's been dismissed for a duck twice. His balls per boundary at the ground is 7.67. And for context, Matty Short's is 8.78. And when we see Matty Short as such a massive power hitter, Linny's got him by about a ball and a bit in terms of balls per boundary. As early as Tuesday, I'm probably just hoping that the bat flip goes the right way and Lenny can chase again without a bit of pressure setting that total early on.
Yeah, something to consider as well. The Thunder have allowed 42.5 points to all batsmen so far this season, which is the second highest of all teams so far, and a further 60 points to all openers, which is right up there with the most in the competition, which is highlighted by Tim Ward, who absolutely put the Thunder to the sword last game with a 114-point performance for his 90 off 49, while Mitchie Owen also blasted that quick fire 45 off 18 in their recent matchup. So the Thunder do leak runs to opening batsmen. So Chris Lynn, yes, he might have failed last game, but like you said, Stu, he's back at the Adelaide Oval. He loves batting there with those short square boundaries. Good matchup, great ground, good venue, power hitter. I definitely think he's in at least one or two of my sides again this week. Brings me to my must-play batsman for the week. And I feel like we're watching a bit of a replay of David Warner's season from last year. It's just taken him a little bit longer to get going this time around. Last season, Warner had a relatively slow start despite big expectations surrounding his return to the Big Bash. He scored just 43 runs and averaged just the 27.6 points across his first 3 games before going on an absolute mid-season tear last season, where he scored 86, 49, 50, and 88 in his next 4 innings. That run translated to GDS scores of 108, 68, 65, and 103 to come out an average of 86 during that stretch in the middle of the tournament, where the Thunder went on a bit of a run towards the finals. This season, the slow start was even more obvious, likely due to the fact he hadn't played domestic cricket or any competitions since August, before the start of the Big Bash. Across his first 4 matches, Warner had scored 44 runs at an average of just 12.75 GDS points, leaving coaches frustrated with his inability to put together that decent score to make us all happy. But then, as we know, Warner went kaboom against the Hurricanes in round 9, reminding everyone exactly what he is capable of in T20 cricket. He exploded for a massive 175 GDS points, powered by that 130 runs in an innings that included 11 fours and 9 sixes. Yes, some people might say Warner had some luck during that innings. He was dropped on 26, so it could have easily been a different story. However, we all know that good batsmen make the most of their second opportunity, and geez, did he make the most of it. He put the Canes to the sword in what could be a season-changing knock for David Warner. If last season taught us anything, it's that once Warner finds that form and gets the rust out, he tends to string big performances back together in back-to-back games. So I'm expecting him to want to lead from the front again as the Thunder look to climb off the bottom of the table and push for another unlikely finals appearance.
Yeah, it's making my old blokes rule quite tough, really. I didn't play him last round. I've got his all-star sitting there as well, which just sort of jumps out at me and says, play me this round.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Look, I think the one big thing for him is that you're right. He didn't have any cricket coming into this. He also had that back injury that I know the first couple of games we saw him stretching it out a bit on the sideline, but on the bench before he came out to bat. So maybe he's a bit over that. Maybe, he has found his form. But look, I don't know. Peter Quicksilver put in the chat, can Warner back it up? I hope for everyone playing him, he does, but I still don't know yet. I think he might be in one or two of my sides, but probably not in my main side at the moment, unless obviously the bat flip goes the way of the Thunder. Look, before we jump into the all-rounders, and Haz, I'll get you to run through the all-rounders in a minute, I just wanted to jump back to Gunners quickly, and then we'll jump into the all-rounders. He said, do you have any info on Sutherland scoring, batting first for second? Big fluctuation, so wondering if it's possible to predict. Look, when we look at him batting first versus batting second, in terms of batting points, he's had 3, 13, 17, 6 runs with the bat when batting first. Second, he had that 19 just gone the day before yesterday. Feels like time's flying. In terms of wickets, he took 3 wickets in that first game, went wicketless in 2, and then went 1-1. So there's not a whole lot of difference between Will Sutherland scoring in terms of whether he's batting first or bowling first and whether they're chasing or not. I guess it probably just comes down to that position that they're in. They kind of find themselves in terms of the Renegades in a position where he's not really coming out and having enough time in the middle to warrant enough points with the bat. And then he's just not being as effective as we're seeing in the past with the ball. And we talked about that in our preseason, that pretty much any time he doesn't get points with the ball, he seems to struggle points-wise. So, look, in terms of averages, if you want to look at it that way, he's averaging 38 when he's batting second, and he obviously had that 61 last night when batting first. So, we'll obviously have to see with a bit more data what that means overall, but in terms of what we've got so far, it doesn't show a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, perfect. Love that. Hopefully that answers your question, Gunners. And we've got the C on the screen there. It's the top 5 averaging all-rounders. Sorry, top 6 averaging all-rounders available this round. We can see that we've got Jack Edwards there, who is the highest scoring all-rounder for the season at 79. Matt Short, 74. Jack Wildermuth, 68, who seems to come back to earth after his massive performance earlier on in the season. Sean Abbott, who's found form coming back from injury. Aaron Hardy, 63, and then Dan Sams, 57 points. Boys, who are looking to target? Dill, let's start off with you again.
Yeah, mate, look, I'm going with a massive pod this round, I think. I'm looking at one in particular, and that's Dan Sams. And this season for Dan Sams, it's not necessarily reached the heights of the past that we've seen for him. He's quietly taken over, though, I think, as the key strike bowling option for the Thunder. We've obviously seen Shadab Khan go off for the international duties. Reece Topley has left, and then we've obviously got Ferguson as well, who is out of the team, injured, unfortunately. I know, Stu, you'll be a bit annoyed about that since you pulled his legend just the other day, but I'm sure you'll use it again at some point. Look, Sams has taken 10 wickets across the first 6 matches of the season, adding an average of 7 dots per game as well. And then he's been coming out between 5 and 7. He's amassed only 68 runs, not too much, but he currently sits 8th overall in terms of averages for all-rounders. However, when filtering just by bowling points, he's averaging 41.5, only behind the likes of Edwards, Curran and Abbott. So Edwards is probably the only out-and-out all-rounder there. Curran and Abbott, out-and-out bowlers. Sam's sort of leaning that way at the moment, but we know that we can have a really good game from Sams with the bat. We haven't seen his best with the bat yet, but we know that he has it in him. And I think the Thunder side know that as well. Obviously, last outing, we saw Madison retire midway through his innings, just so Sams could come in and hopefully increase that run rate for the Thunder, because they know the kind of big hitting ability that Sams has. So, look, I think there's plenty of opportunity. I think last season Sams had a high of 42, so I wouldn't expect too much more. But we've seen previous seasons where he's got a quick 50 or whatever's required at the back end of an innings. The stats also point to a potential big game from Sams and a potential pod opportunity, with the strikers allowing 45.6 to all-rounders this season, which is the second most to that position. And then when filtering by batting position, they've been most vulnerable to those coming out at 5 or 6. where they're actually averaging 66.3 against the strikers. So, look, he won't feature in all of my teams, but he will definitely play a pivotal role in a couple of those competitions where I'll be rolling out the pod. So, Dan Sams for me this week.
Yeah, I love Dan Sams. I definitely think he is a good pod for all coaches this round. I think you nailed it on the head. He is pretty much the strike bowler now that they've lost some personnel. And it's going to be interesting to see if they continue with this retiring batsman out to send in Sams if they're chasing quick runs. Obviously, that's only going to increase his GDS output. So it'll be good to see moving forward. We got our teams are in for tonight. So, Stu, do you want to talk about those teams?
Yeah, very quickly. Thanks, Mel, for letting us know the result of the bat flip. Sydney Sixers won the toss. They're going to bowl first, so we can lock a number of those Sixers in for their full quota of overs. The Heat, you might see a big name left out of the start of that Heat team there, Colin Munro. Looks like the Brisbane Heat are fed up, a bit disappointed, like a lot of the fans, with his performance. And it wasn't just this year, it was probably a lot of last year as well. But look to go past Colin Munro now. Lockie Hearn moves up to the opening spot, and the rest of the team looks pretty similar there, with McSweeney at 3 and Renshaw at 4. I don't think that changes our perspective on Renshaw there, even though he's come in at 4. Probably just means he might be in a little bit later now, since Hearn might stay around a little bit longer than Munro has in the past. And if the Heat do struggle a little bit, lose some early wickets, anyone who's playing Butler in their bowler position might get a few handy runs as well, like last match. Such as Fife has dropped the Sydney Sixers team as well. What are we seeing there, boys? Nothing different? No changes?
No changes.
Yeah, beautiful. So a lot of all-rounders options there from the Sixers, with Kerr there at number 11 again. So no out-and-out bowlers, is that right? Or maybe just the one?
No.
Yeah, tough.
No bowlers again. And yeah, like you said, that Hayden Kerr at 11, I think they said on commentary the other night, there was a game where he came out and opened in a final. So when you've got an opening batsman playing all the way down 11, and pretty lucky to have.
And he scored 98 in that game.
Cal's just talked about Bryant, bit stiff, not to be moved up the order. Yeah, I tend to slightly agree there, but he's been doing that get-out job so well for the Heat and really finishing the back end of the innings so well, and he's been the match winner on probably 2 occasions this season. So, don't fix what's not broken. I think he's doing a fantastic job in that role. Let's hope he can do it again if the situation calls for it.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Stu, do you want to talk about your must-target all-rounder if we've got nothing else to talk about for tonight?
Yeah, let's get into it. If anyone's got any questions about tonight's fixture, drop it in the comment section and we'll get to them where we can. But there's a lot of all-round options that you can pick during tonight's game. You could even run out all 4 all-rounders if you really wanted, and have Wildermuth and 3 Sixers players in that all-rounder spot. I won't be doing that. I'll certainly be having 1 or 2 Sixers players in my all-rounder list, in my all-rounder spot. But for me, my must-play, it's going to be Aaron Hardie, and that's the man that's teased a lot of GDS coaches so far this season, particularly because of his poor performances really on in the season. And so many coaches were even saying that he's on their never again list. His 3 matches to start the season were pretty poor. He claimed just the 1 wicket in those 3 starts, but his past 3 has been really good with the ball. In those 3 matches, he's taken 6 wickets. He's had figures of 2 for 7, 2 for 27, and 2 for 10. But what I find most important is he's getting a lot of those really crucial end of match overs where the junk wickets are flowing thick and fast. He got that really easy dismissal on the first ball of the 20th over last night, and he's taken a wicket in the last over on 2 occasions. At least 3 occasions already this season. And that also included 1 game when Jai Richardson was in the team. I think Dill might speak a little bit about Jai Richardson's potential inclusion in the bowlers section, but just because Jai Richardson's back doesn't really impact Aaron Hardie at all. If anything, Jai Richardson might be used in a different way, and batsmen might want to try to target Aaron Hardie, and that's where the wickets obviously come. He's in terms of batting, though, hasn't found much of a rhythm. He's had scores of 13, 23, 9, 28. and 9, with the 94 not out mixed amongst there as well. That 94 not out means that his average for GDS points is about 35 with the bat. But if you ignore that knock on the other 5 occasions, his average dips to about 17. At Optus Stadium this year, his scores have been 9 on both occasions. So like I mentioned earlier with Chrissy Lynn, it might be a bit of a tough watch with Aaron Hardy as well. We want him to get going into double figures at least. But I'm backing him in for a decent go with bat and ball again this match. He's got a career average of 34.5 at that venue. So look, I'm going to back his class. I'm going to find a spot for him. He's batting at 4, getting 3 or 4 overs each match, and the crucial overs. The role is there. It hasn't always come to fruition, but I don't want to miss that big knock. And a lot of coaches were left licking their wounds after that 94 not out. But he was in my team that round, and I don't want that to happen at all.
Yeah, completely agree. I think you nailed it on the head there. You don't want to miss the knock that role does come off, that 94 not out and 2 wickets to go with it. Anyone that didn't play him definitely saw themselves falling down the leaderboard quite significantly that round. So I think he is, in regards role, he's got one of the best roles in the game at the moment. He's guaranteed nearly 3 to 4 overs batting at number 4. Yes, his batting hasn't been super consistent, but it's just only a matter of time that's going to come off. He's going to find some form eventually. We know he's got the big one in him, and if he does fail, he's been saving himself with the ball. So he's got a flaw. I definitely think he'll be in some of my sides again this week. My all-rounder for this week is going to be Jamie Overton, who I think is going to be very hungry to have a big impact this round after not being required to bowl at all against the Scorchers last night, with the Strikers opting for a clear spin-to-win game plan like I've never seen before in a T20 cricket. Luke Wood and Liam Scott bowled the opening 4 overs in the power play, but the Strikers rolled through 16 consecutive overs of spin after that, leaving Overton without an opportunity to impact the game at all with the ball. He finished with just 21 points, and I think he'd be pretty disappointed with his output, particularly with the bat. Last time he had a quiet game, he responded pretty emphatically. After scoring just 21 points against the Heat at the Gabba in round 6, he returned to Adelaide Oval and tore through the Heat with figures of 3 for 19, which included 14 dot balls, resulting in 88 GDS points, and that wasn't even needing to be required with the bat in that New Year's Eve clash. Overton isn't the type of player who strings together multiple quiet game rounders batting at number 7, which is where Overton's come in his last 2 games. I don't love that for Jamie Overton. I think, if anything, we want to see him batting at number 6. So if he can push up to number 6, his appeal only grows, with the Thunder allowing 65 points to that position to all rounders, highlighted by Jack Edwards' mammoth 139-point performance earlier in the season. So for me, all signs point to Overton being ready to fire again, pretty much either with bat or ball against the Thunder tomorrow night.
Yeah, I love that. I guess that the big question mark is over whether he stays at number 7 or moves up to number 6. We've obviously seen some massive hitting from Overton in the past, and it's obviously going to be game script dependent. If they lose a few wickets in the middle there, then he might come in a bit earlier and get himself in before the power surge, and obviously that's where we want him to fire, is in that power surge. And we've talked about him a few times on the show, and that he's been a bit unlucky. So hopefully he can turn it around for all coaches that are going with Overton. I would love to see it probably first where he does move up the order.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's move on to our bowlers. We are running a little bit short on time. We want to make sure we finish up before the first ball is bowled, so everyone can make those changes needed to their teams. On screen, we can see the top 5 averaging players once again available for this round. We can see Gurinder Sandhu, who somehow is leading the averages for bowlers this season at 55. Xavier Bartlett, 51. Luke Wood, 50, even though he only get to bowl those 2 overs last night. Joel Paris, who's been going pretty well in Jai Richardson's absence and averaging 47 points. And then that one there at the end, Adam Zampa, who once again has not been confirmed in the teams. He's missed the last couple of games. But if he is available to play, obviously the Strikers' spin to win tactic against the Scorchers worked pretty well. So I think the Renegades might follow suit. And if Zampa's in, I definitely think he'll be a great shout for coaches this round. But boys, who are we looking to target and why? Dill, once again, over to you.
Yeah, the big news out of the Aussie camp this morning, Jai Richardson's been released to the Scorchers so that he should be available for this round of Big Bash. Obviously, as I said at the top of the show, we don't have confirmation of him being in the squad, and this is where you might need to have that pivot ready to go. So if you are keen on Jai Richardson, you might need a pivot if, say, tomorrow he doesn't get named and someone else is in his place, or potentially he's named in the squad, but then doesn't actually make the 11. So keep an eye on all the news there. But look, I think it's great news for GS coaches who probably are scratching their heads looking at that list there of top averaging players and thinking, I don't know about Joel Paris. He obviously just came off for 3 for Gurinder Sandhu, looked great, but they've got some really good options there. Xavier Bartlett's been semi-consistent. He's had some down games as well. And then obviously Luke Wood with his last performance. So I think potentially Jai Richardson just fits in as one of those first picks for most coaches if he's named to play. Look, we did see Paris take a bagful against the Strikers on that pitch that, as we said, we continue to talk about it, was spin-friendly. But I think that provides evidence of the Scorchers' love affair with their quicks. We know that they've loved them for a long time, and we know those quicks are super effective. And even in a game where the spin was playing a big factor, obviously the quicks were still able to get amongst the wickets, and we saw that with Paris. And then Marley Beardman, my man, took a wicket as well. We really now have probably one of Australia's best fast bowlers back in the squad. And if he's named, he slots straight into probably all 3 of my squads as well, to be honest. I'm pretty happy to play him on all 3. The Scorchers face the Renegades at Optus. Both of those, for me, are the keys to success here, actually. The Gades have allowed an average of 43.9 bowling points to fast bowlers, which is the most in the competition for any bowling type against any opposition. So that's 44 GDS points just off the ball. That's not fielding, not batting either. Last season, we saw Richo have 2 games at Optus Stadium where he bowled his full 8-over allotment. He took 5 wickets in those 2 games and he added 24 dot balls. He was required in the second game against the Gades, and he hit 11 runs, which included a 4 and a 6, which probably showcases his GDS scoring ceiling. We have obviously got a lot with the ball, and then if he can come out and swing a couple of 4s and maybe a 6, some quick runs at the back end of an innings, I think we'd be cheering with that, whatever score we get there. So, boys, I'm running out a Jai Richardson this week.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. I think if Richardson's in the 11 come Wednesday night, I think he is a must play. I think he is a wicket taker through and through. He just finds ways to impact games. I love watching him play. I just love that whippy action that he has. He has all the deliveries. He's got, he can bowl on all phases of the game. He can, like you said, Dill, he can throw the bat if required. So, yeah, I think if he's playing, he's a definite must there. There is a comment in the chat from Such As Five. Is David Payne a shout? Dill, did you want to potentially answer that one? I know you've got a little bit of information about David Payne.
Yeah, so, I mean, if anyone's following the ILT 20, they had the final midnight last night. David Payne was featured in that, as was Sam Curran, another international player that is heading over at some point. We just don't know when they're going to be released and when they're going to arrive with the side. Potentially, David Payne could have an impact in this game, but I think we just got to keep a close eye on whether he's actually named in that side or not, or whether he's going to just take a couple of days off before coming back. In that final, he bowled his 4 overs. He took 3 wickets in that game, so a pretty big effort from him. So if he does come back, he's definitely in some form, and he's definitely a look in if you do have a David Payne card. And I probably tend to think there's not many around. Stuart, do you have a David Payne card at all?
Yeah, I just typed Payne into my players portfolio. I've got 2 platinums, 3 silvers, and a bronze. So I'm stacked. Let's see if we can get some David Payne sooner rather than later. I think 17 wickets in the 9 matches over there in the ILT 20. Very impressive. Going to be a little bit different over here, obviously, but form in any competition is pretty good for most. He'll get the job done when he gets a start.
Look, and there's one more question here from Izzy, and we might throw to you, Stu, again as well. Do you reckon Behrendorff can find some form heading back to his old home ground, I guess, of Optus Stadium at Perth? We've obviously seen him in that scorched orange for a long period of time. Do we think he's still going to have some success there?
Yeah, I do. And I think him returning home against a lot of his teammates that he played a number of seasons with is going to be a really important occasion for him. He obviously went on a golden run, scoring, I think, claiming a wicket in 16 match, at least one wicket in 16 matches in a row, before having a bit of a down spell of 2 matches without a wicket, and he didn't even get the important final over as well. That went to Gurinder Sandhu. I don't think that's any indication that he's slowing down and becoming a worse bowler than he was last season. Obviously, there's a little bit of regression there. But, I think he's going to want to have a bit to prove when he returns home. His numbers over there in Perth are really impressive. He's got the second most wickets of anyone in history behind AJ Tye. He's got 43 wickets in 31 matches at an average of 18, and he strikes at every 16 balls. He's picked up a 3+ wicket on 3 occasions and got a 4 for once. And he's going to want to put this team on his shoulders as well, returning back home. He's going to know a lot of the opposition batsmen as well. He's going to know their strengths and their weaknesses. And I think that's going to play into his hands as well. He's had a down patch. I think a lot of people are going to move past him because of that. But his all-star is going to get a role in my challenger side this round.
So just quickly, Stu, the strikers last round bowled 16 overs of spin at the Scorchers. We know the Gades have got probably at least 3 spinners in their side, so you probably think that they're going to bowl at least 12 overs worth of spin. So that means that Sutherland, Behrendorff and Gurinder Sandhu might have to share the remaining 8 overs. Behrendorff hasn't been getting his 4 overs. Do you is still keen on him, even though he might not potentially get his full 4?
Yeah, I think when the match is coming down to the wire and those sorts of things, I think he might earn a little bit of trust there back at home, getting the ball against some of his fellow teammates. I think he's going to have Will Sutherland's going to have the most confidence in him to perform, but it's probably more of a who's performing well during the match. Is obviously Sandhu taking the wickets and getting the batsmen to hit the poor shots. And that's why he was given that important junk time over at the end of the match there as well. So it's probably going to be a wait and see how the match is going. If Behrendorff can start on fire, then he's going to be the one to get the ball in the important overs. So that's probably what you're betting on. It's probably not locked and loaded. It's just who's going better on the surface and against the opposition. And I think Behrendorff's got enough experience, enough knowledge of the opposition to start well and hopefully end well as well. He's not going to figure in all 3 of my sides, but I don't want to leave him out entirely and fade him entirely for him to get those important overs and maybe get a 3 for against his old side.
Yeah, perfect. Love that. All right, mate, I'll throw it over to you now for your all-rounder to target this round.
Yeah, my bowler will be Lukey Wood from the Adelaide Strikers. And some coaches, I think, they're going to pick a big combination of bowlers between the likes of, Richardson, Sandhu, Behrendorff, Zampa, if he's named. But I think Luke Wood could be in for a nice big bounce back after wicketless performance last night. He scored just 21 points, which included a catch there against the Scorchers and a handful of dot balls, but no wickets. And we've said it enough times on this show already that was due to the spin to win mentality there of the Adelaide Strikers. And, the spinners there got, I think, 4 spinners bowled out, which left 2 overs for Scott, for Lukey Wood, and none for Overton. But that was all about the surface and all about how the spin was getting on top of the opposition, and that's not going to be the case at the Adelaide Oval, and I'm almost certain of that. The Strikers found a weakness against the opposition, and they obviously targeted that. But back home in Adelaide now, both matches have been really interesting in terms of wicket taking between fast bowlers and spin bowlers. And both games have had 11 wickets across both innings for the pace bowlers. And in both matches, just 1 wicket each match for the spinners. Luke Wood only played 1 match at the Adelaide Oval this season. He was ill for the other match that the Strikers played there. He got 1 for 19 from his 4 overs, which included 13 dot balls and a nice modest 41 points. So he's definitely capable. Jamie Overton got the big haul that match. But yeah, I think the Strikers are going to pace stocks. They've already shown their hand a little bit by bringing back Hassan Ali over Shamsi, who had a really nice debut for them last night, proving that, they're going to go back to their pace. So, yeah, I think the deck is going to suit all those quicks. There's not going to be a lot of success there for the spinners. So I think any Adelaide quick that you roll out will be pretty handy. And it just so happens that I'm going to pick Luke Wood this round.
Yeah, I do really like that. I think Luke Wood, even though he only bowled the 2 overs last night in that power play, I thought he was unreal. He had 8 dot balls from those 2 overs. He was swinging the ball. He had it going both ways. I was surprised to see that he didn't get another ball, but obviously, like you said, and we've talked about, Adelaide really had that plan of attack against the Scorchers. So I don't think that's definitely going to happen again. He's bowling the key overs. He's opening the bowling. He's bowling the surge, and he's bowling the back end. Great shout once again this week, Lukey Wood at Adelaide Oval. Radio, my one for this week. Boys, last week we've talked about Jason Behrendorff already, and last week we sat here discussing AJ Tye versus Jason Behrendorff, and who would be targeting for round 8. And all those signs pointed to Jason Behrendorff as the lead man for the Gates. But boys, we didn't factor in Gurinder Sandhu, and I reckon he might have taken that a little bit personally. Gurinder Sandhu is currently the highest averaging bowler of the season and has been trusted with key overs in both the surge and, as you mentioned, Stu, at the death. He's averaging 55.4 GDS points from his 5 games so far, thanks to his 10 wickets, which has him sitting equal third overall in the competition, despite playing 1 less game compared to Peter Siddle and Harris Ralph, who are on 12 wickets. Importantly, he's taken at least 1 wicket in every match and has a low score of just 27 points, highlighting how safe his floor has been so far this season. He's coming off a near career best performance in the Derby against the Stars, where he picked up those 4 wickets, bowled 10 dot balls, and took a catch for a massive 104 points. I wouldn't expect a repeat of that kind of ceiling this round against the Scorchers. And obviously, as we've mentioned, the strikers bowled those 16 overs of spin. I think the Gates will follow a similar approach with the likes of Stowe, Spores, Khan, and or Zampa, whatever final 3 they decide. And as I mentioned, they could potentially share the remaining 8 overs amongst Behrendorff, Sutherland, and Sandhu. But that being said, Sandhu has bowled in the surge in each of the last 4 games, and I expect that role to probably continue, along with at least 1 over at the death. So we should be guaranteed at least 3 overs. And the Scorchers have allowed a competition high 38.1 GDS points to bowlers this season, making it another strong matchup for Sandhu to potentially continue his wicket-taking run. And I know, Stu, you said that Behrendorff being back at home against familiar opposition is probably the guy to target. But I just like Sandhu. He's in form. He is taking wickets. Behrendorff's gone wicketless for 3 games in a row now. So I'm probably leaning out of the 2 probably towards Sandhu, but you could probably flip a coin between them. It could go either way very easily. So that's where I'm leaning this week for the Renegades quicks.
Yeah, I think a lot of coaches are going to play at least one of those players. And obviously the form does read Sandhu, and he's obviously got some confidence and some backing from Skip Sutherland as well. I just think, returning home, if there's going to be one game that Behrendorff gets up for and finds some form again, it's probably likely going to be this one. Dill, are we thinking that Gurinder Sandhu is showing some signs of maybe last season's Mark Steckety? 10 wickets in his 5 matches so far, Sandhu. We saw how red hot Steckety was, and I think, was it Steckety that was a bit of a cause for you missing out? Yeah, okay. Let's
Why would you every time Mark Steckety and Nathan McAndrew will haunt me for the rest of my life. Look, just quickly on that as well, boys. Optus Stadium has seen 40 wickets fall so far this season. It's been almost an even split between spin and fast bowlers. Actually, fast bowlers have taken a combined 21. Obviously, a bit of math there. Spin have taken 19 wickets. So it might be a bit more even than what we think. And maybe, that Zampa shout might be pretty good if he finds his way back into the side. But I'll definitely be rolling out Gurinder Sandhu and probably one of my competitions as well, because you just never know the way that he is in some form at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's get into have a look at our round 10 consensus 11. So this is the FantasyBros consensus 11 and who we are keen on rolling out across our squads this round. So we can see we have Flip in it, the wicketkeeper, Cooper Connolly, Matt Renshaw, and Chris Lynn round out our batters. We have Jack Edwards, Aaron Hardy, Matt Short, and Jamie Overton in the all-rounder slots. We have Jai Richardson once again making sure keep an eye on the Discord, making sure he does get named in that final 11 before plugging him into your squads. Xavier Bartlett and that man, Jason Berendorf, as well as some potential pod options for coaches this week. Matt Kuhneman, as Dill mentioned, spinners have had success at Coffs previously, and Kuhneman has played there before and taken wickets, so he could be a potential pod, as well as Hassan Khan. As I mentioned, he probably will get at least 3 to 4 overs against the Scorchers after the Adelaide Strikers spin to win plan. I think the Renegades will try and repeat that success. So there is our Fantasy Bros consensus 11 for round 10. If you would like to follow along, making sure that you have a look at that. Brodown Showdown is back once again this week, where the 3 Fantasy Bros will go head to head to see who is the superior bro. Not only that, but it gives our amazing community a chance to win some more unreal prizes. For every live show, we'll be assigned a position from bat, wicket keeper, all-rounder, and bowler, and pick our top player in that position. Highest score from the round wins, but here is the best part. Comment who you will think will win Brodown Showdown, and if you get it right, you are in with a shot to win awesome cards to continue building your squad. So let's get into it. You can see the results on screen from round 8 and 9. So I had Marcus Stoinis as my pick, who had two shots at the cherry and in top score of 64. Cooper Connolly came out with 60 points for Stu, and Harris Ralph, once again, with that double shot at the cherry, came out with 53 points, which means I do take the win for round 8 and 9, taking me to, I think, a tally of 3 and putting me in the lead for the season, I believe. Is that right, Stu?
Yes, it is, and we'll reveal our picks shortly. But yeah, you're up 3-2, so it's nice and close, but Haz is back in front.
And Dill, you mentioned earlier there was some... Sorry, I was going to say, you mentioned earlier there were some really important drop catches that changed the flow of games. I think one drop catch potentially might have cost you a Brodown Showdown victory as well.
For the bowler.
What is this? Just remind me of mistakes that I've made in Oz cricket. Yeah, obviously Harris Ralph would have taken a wicket there, and Sam Curran made sure that Brodown lost to me, and a win went to you. So thanks to Tommy Curran for dropping that catch. Good on you, mate.
Yeah, I'll definitely take that if that means I get the win. That's for sure.
Alrighty, you can see on screen we've got the wheel. These 4 people commented Haz. They thought you were going to win, Haz, and you obviously did. Mianji Gaming, Maxi, Mel's, and Izzy. Quite a few of them are in the chat. Good luck to everyone here. And I believe it is it's time for it's round 10, but it's not our 10th show. So we've got a couple of rare packs that we'll be opening.
That'll be next show, I think.
Let's jump into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be next show.
Congrats, Maxi.
Maxi, well done.
Nice, Maxi.
Well done. Okay. Let me jump across and let's just get a couple of packs going.
Maxi can have the first pack.
Alrighty, let's jump across and share this tab instead. Lovely. So, got a couple of rare packs. Obviously, they are all-star packs because we got them earlier in the season, but there are no all-stars left, but that does not mean this pack won't be fruitful. Let's have a look and see what Maxi is going to... Alrighty, first up, we've got a gold Liam Scott. We've got a gold AJ Ty, and we're finishing off with Billy Stanley, all gold. So, Maxi, make sure you hit us up on Discord to get those cards across to you. Alrighty, we've got, as it was, mate.
Perfect.
Where are we going first?
We'll just go left to right.
Left to right. Alrighty, first up, we've got a Jimmy Pearson. Oh, Spencer Johnson gold out for the season, but it is a dynasty competition. You get to keep his card forever, so no doubt. And Rizzy just to finish off. What a great pack that is for you, mate. Well done.
Maxie, you can have all those, mate. You can have all 3 of them.
Oh, there you go. That's what you get with the Fantasy Bros. Some unreal cards there. Good on you, Haz.
So we can see on screen the round 10 selections. I have Xavier Bartlett in the bowler position. Stu has gone Jack Edwards in the all-rounder, and Dill Matty Renshaw in the batsman. So we will get to know the result of that tonight, boys. We won't have to wait until the end of the round. We'll know who is victorious nice and early in the round, so we can celebrate that one nice and early. As you can see, the overall leaderboard, I have taken a 1 vote or 1 game lead, I should say, in the season, but there are plenty of games and rounds left in the season. So comment the name of whichever bro you think will win round 10. Then during our round 11 live show, we will draw the winner.
Unreal. We've got a few coming through as we speak. Sort of evening it up. Again, Stu, we've got 1 for you, mate. Maxie's gone for me. I can't see anyone with Haz yet.
They
maybe
just don't like the bowlers.
Maybe Mel's misfits. Yeah, no one likes the bowlers. Maybe Mel's talking about going for you when she said that you're a legend. So maybe she was voting for you. I'm not sure. We might need to check that. And Sif Kanga, our good friend from the NRL side, he's gone for me, fellow Wales fan. Good on you, Sif Kanga. Good to see that you've got your keyboard fixed, mate. Hey, there's no caps there.
I think he's on his mobile phone again. The username's different.
All right. Good on you, boys.
So we can see on screen there, our round 11 live preview show will be on Thursday, the January the 8th at 5:05 Australian Eastern Standard Time on the Fantasy Bros YouTube channel. Once again, thank you very much, boys. Thank you, everyone, for listening in after a massive day of Ashes cricket. Best of luck for round 10, and I will see everyone next round preview show on Thursday. See you later.